not a rumor whispered in a corner, and it's not a faceless allegation floating online. This is a chain of moments, documents, and decisions that, when laid end to end, paint a chilling picture of power, fear, and humiliation. And tonight, the question is simple and explosive. Did a Hollywood inner circle try to break a man without ever laying a hand on him? What makes this story detonate isn't just the lawsuit, it's how the alleged pressure unfolds, who is accused of pulling the strings, and why the details feel so surgical, so personal, and so psychologically violent that even defenders of Will Smith stop mid-sentence and hesitate. And when Dr. Umar Johnson starts connecting the dots, the silence gets louder than the accusations.
You heard how Will Smith, he got sued for harassment?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My Philadelphia brother, I heard about it. You know, I'm a big Will Smith fan. You know, I'm always going to ride for the hometown. So Will Smith, there's a violinist by the name of Brian King Joseph. BKJ, Brian King Joseph. He is suing Will Smith for an unspecified amount of money. So just like with Donnie McClurkin's accuser, Will Smith's accuser also doesn't seem to be motivated by money. But he is suing Will Smith for sexual harassment, wrongful termination, and retaliation.
From the very first breath of this conversation, the air changes. A lawsuit, harassment, wrongful termination, retaliation, not gossip, blog fluff, legal language. And the name at the center isn't a nobody, it's a global star with a brand built on family, inspiration, and control. But Dr. Umar doesn't rush to crucify. In fact, he pauses. He acknowledges loyalty. He says he's a fan. And that pause is important because when a supporter slows down before speaking, it means something in the facts made him stop. Brian King Joseph isn't a random accuser drifting in for clout. He's a violinist, a recognizable talent, someone who crossed paths with power in a professional setting. And that's where the story tightens.
He claims that Will Smith said, "I have a special connection to you, unlike I have with anyone else."
Those words sit heavy, not because they prove anything, but because they invite interpretation. In Hollywood, special connection can mean mentorship, favoritism, creative chemistry, or something far more complicated. And Dr. Umar doesn't declare guilt here. He lets the implication breathe. Because in gossip, implication is oxygen. The tour begins, the work flows, the access increases, time is spent together, and nothing explodes until Las Vegas.
Somebody entered his hotel room without his permission, Art, and they left a red bag, an earring, some wipes, a hospital discharge note, some HIV medicine, hospital discharge note, earring, red bag, some wipes, and a little note that says, "I will be back, just you and I."
This is the moment everything fractures. No forced entry, no broken lock, no stranger. Someone with access enters a private space and leaves behind a display so personal it feels designed to terrify, shame, and destabilize. HIV medication, hospital papers, a note that reads like a threat wrapped in intimacy. And suddenly, the question isn't just what happened, it's who wanted him to know they could reach him anytime they wanted. Dr. Umar doesn't sensationalize this, he dissects it. Because this isn't physical assault, this is psychological theater. And psychological theater leaves scars no camera ever sees.
Brian King Joseph says that this was sexual harassment. He said that this left him in a state of PTSD. He said he reported it to the police, he reported it to hotel management, Art, and he reported it not directly to Will Smith, but to Will Smith's management team. They accused him of lying, allegedly, and he was subsequently terminated.
This is where fear turns into consequence. He reports it, not to gossip sites, not to social media, to police, to hotel management, to the management team. And what happens next isn't protection, it's isolation, accusations of lying. Then, termination. In stories like this, timing is everything. Report first, fired second. That sequence doesn't whisper coincidence, it screams retaliation.
There's nothing in Brian King Joseph's lawsuit against Will Smith, in my humble opinion, that shows Will Smith personally did anything wrong. So the first question I have for Brian King Joseph and his attorney, what did Will Smith do? I don't see anything, Art, saying he groped him. I don't see anything saying he kicked him. I don't see anything saying he tried to hug me or kiss me. I don't see anything saying they had any type of sexual exchange. The only thing I see in the lawsuit is Will Smith said we had a special connection. So is it possible they were involved in a relationship that Brian King Joseph doesn't want to make public? I guess it's possible, but in defense of Will Smith, it ain't listed in the lawsuit. I don't really see what Will Smith did to him. Like, it appears, Art, that the sexual harassment is being limited to the things that were left on his bed.
Dr. Umar doesn't just emote, he grounds the outrage in law. Because once legality enters the room, the gossip sharpens into something dangerous. And suddenly, the narrative isn't about feelings, it's about accountability. But then Dr. Umar pivots, and this pivot is critical.
Is Brian King Joseph, our brother, is he infected with HIV/AIDS? Does Brian King Joseph have HIV/AIDS? And did somebody from Will Smith's management team take his bag out the car, out the van, out the truck, out the limo, dump it, break into his room without permission? And there was no signs of forced entry, so they had a key, Art. And according to Brian King Joseph, the only people who had access to his room was the management team. So did someone from the management team go into his room and dump the contents of his bag onto his bed, in fact letting Brian King Joseph know, Art, that now we know that you are likely to be homosexual, have HIV/AIDS, is taking medication.
This is where the story becomes strategic. Dr. Umar draws a line. He separates the man from the machine. He asks the question nobody wants to ask. Was this Will Smith, or was this the camp acting in his shadow? And that distinction matters, because Hollywood power rarely moves with fingerprints. It moves through assistants, handlers, managers, people who act for you, sometimes without you, sometimes because they think they're protecting you. And that's when the most controversial theory erupts. This is the moment the room goes silent, because if the contents on that bed came from his missing bag, then this wasn't random, it was deliberate exposure. A message that says, we know your medical status, we know your private life, and we can put it in your face whenever we want. That's not harassment in the traditional sense, that's psychological warfare. Dr. Umar doesn't claim certainty, but he doesn't shy away either. He asks the questions everyone else is afraid to articulate, and in gossip, the question alone can be explosive. This is where empathy enters. Dr. Umar doesn't laugh, he doesn't mock, he says this is the first accuser he feels sorry for. Because if this happened, it wasn't about money, it was about breaking someone quietly, without bruises, without witnesses, without headlines. And that's the most terrifying allegation of all. Because if this was a silencing attempt, it wasn't loud, it was surgical, personal, and meant to make a man disappear without ever screaming. What makes this case refuse to fade isn't just the shock of what was allegedly left behind in that hotel room, it's the pattern that follows, the sequence of denial, dismissal, and distancing that Dr. Umar keeps circling back to. Because in stories like this, the truth rarely hides in one moment, it hides in what happens after the moment. Once the accusation is made, once the report is filed, once the fear is spoken out loud, the machinery starts moving. Not loudly, not publicly, but quietly, efficiently, with paperwork and phone calls and closed-door decisions. And Dr. Umar's voice changes here, because this is the part of the story Hollywood knows too well, how reputations are protected while people are erased. He points out that that Brian King Joseph didn't rush to name names on live streams, didn't drag the story through social media mud, didn't turn the allegation into a spectacle. Instead, he chose restraint, silence, legal channels. And paradoxically, that restraint makes the aftermath feel even darker, because the response he allegedly received wasn't care, it was cold distance. Dr. Umar keeps returning to one unsettling idea. If this was a lie, why handle it this way? Why not investigate internally? Why not pause and protect everyone involved? Why does the sequence look like report, disbelief, termination? In gossip logic, timing is confession without words. And then comes the question nobody wants to touch, but everyone keeps thinking, why those items? Not random objects, not generic intimidation, medical paperwork, medication, a note written to feel intimate and threatening at the same time. Dr. Umar frames it as psychological pressure designed not to bruise the body, but to fracture the spirit, to make a man feel seen, exposed, and powerless in a space where he thought he was safe. He makes it clear that the lawsuit, as written, appears careful, almost too careful. The language avoids explicit declarations about medical status. It sidesteps certain details. And to Dr. Umar, that doesn't weaken the claim, it strengthens it. Because careful language often signals someone trying desperately to protect what little privacy they have left. Then comes one of the most important pivots of the entire discussion. Dr. Umar refuses to flatten the story into a simple villain narrative. He repeatedly emphasizes that there is no direct allegation that Will Smith personally entered that room or personally orchestrated the act. Instead, the spotlight shifts to the ecosystem around power, the managers, handlers, gatekeepers who act as shields and swords at the same time. And this is where the gossip turns systemic. Because Hollywood doesn't run on individuals alone, it runs on camps. And camps operate on loyalty, fear, and the unspoken rule that protecting the brand comes before protecting the person. Dr. Umar's most cutting observation isn't about sex or scandal. It's about how easily humanity gets sacrificed when millions are at stake. He even goes as far as saying that if Will Smith had no knowledge of what allegedly happened, then this is the moment to prove it, not with statements, but with action. Fire whoever crossed the line. Make it right financially. Restore dignity. Because silence at this stage doesn't look neutral, it looks complicit. And then Dr. Umar delivers what may be the most emotionally jarring admission of the entire discussion. He says this is the first accuser he genuinely feels sympathy for, not because the claim is flashy, but because if the allegations are true, this wasn't a grab for fame, it was a punishment for speaking up, a warning disguised as coincidence. The story lingers because it doesn't end cleanly. There's no viral confrontation, no explosive arrest, just a man removed from a tour, a lawsuit carefully worded, and a set of questions that refuse to sit still. And Dr. Umar makes one thing painfully clear. If fear was the tool used, then silence was the desired outcome. But silence didn't hold. Because now the story exists, the questions exist, the discomfort exists. And whether this ends in settlement, dismissal, or vindication, the allegation itself has already done something irreversible. It's forced people to look beyond smiles, beyond branding, and into the machinery that decides who is protected and who is expendable. And that's why this isn't just another Hollywood scandal. It's a case study in power, fear, and the cost of speaking when the room would rather you disappear.